Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're embarking on a real psychological investigation into something we all do literally every single day, and that's making choices. You see, every single purchase you make, whether it's huge or totally mundane, has this hidden architecture behind it, and we are going to uncover it piece by piece. Okay, let's dive into this. Think about it. Why do you prefer one mobile phone brand over another? Just take a second to really reflect on your own habits. Why do you always grab that exact same brand of toothpaste off the shelf? Or, why do you find yourself constantly migrating back to that one specific restaurant in town? Well, the answer isn't just about price. And it actually isn't just about quality either. The secret ingredient? It's consumer attitude. So here's our map for this explainer. First, the power of consumer attitude. Second, what exactly attitude is. Third, the tri-component CAB model. Fourth, linking intentions to actions and obstacles. And finally, shaping and changing those attitudes. All right, section 1, the power of consumer attitude. The truth is, as consumers, we're incredibly complex creatures, right? We evaluate products on way more than just a price tag or a bulleted list of features. For marketers and businesses, this right here is the absolute bottom line. Even when competitors offer remarkably similar products, I'm talking similar prices, similar quality, the consumer's attitude is what actually makes the final call. Positive attitudes form the absolute bedrock of brand reputation and long-term loyalty. But on the flip side, negative attitudes don't just, slightly reduce sales. They actively and sometimes permanently damage a brand's reputation. Moving on to section 2. What exactly is attitude? To build our foundation here, let's nail down our main term. Consumer behavior experts Schiffman and Weisenblit describe it exactly like this. Attitude is a learned predisposition to behave in a consistently favorable or unfavorable manner toward a given object. Now, I really want you to focus on those first two words there, learned predisposition. You aren't born with a preference for a specific sneaker brand. It is entirely 100% learned. So the crucial point is this. If we take that academic quote and synthesize it down into a really clear working definition, consumer attitude is a learned tendency that influences how consumers think, feel, and behave toward products, brands, or services. It's basically the mental filter through which every single marketing stimulus gets processed. Let's just quickly run through the specific characteristics of an attitude. As we said, they're learned, right, through things like personal experience or seeing ads. They're also relatively stable over time, though importantly, they aren't permanent. They definitely can change. They are always directed towards a specific object, so like a commercial, a service, or a brand name. They directly influence buying behavior. And lastly, they consist of multiple components. Which brings us to section 3, the tri-component CAB model. This is easily one of the most important theories in all of consumer behavior. It's essentially a map of the human brain during a purchase. Every attitude is made up of these 3 sequential components. First up, the cognitive component. This is what you know or believe about a product, like its price or how reliable it is. Second is the affective component. This is how you feel about it, your trust, your excitement. And third, the conative component, which is your behavioral intention, basically the likelihood that you'll actually buy it or recommend it. So what we know leads to how we feel, which dictates how we intend to act. A super useful shorthand to keep this whole framework in your head is simply CAB. C for cognitive, A for affective, and B for behavioral. Just remember CAB. Now lean in closely for this one, because this is a really common trap people fall into. Attitude is what a consumer thinks and feels, but behavior is what a consumer actually does. Just because a consumer has incredibly positive thoughts and warm feelings about your product, that absolutely does not guarantee they're going to pull out their wallet and actually buy it. Let's look at section 4, intentions, actions, and obstacles. And this brilliantly illustrates how intention actually translates to action and why a really positive attitude sometimes mysteriously fails to produce a sale. See, consumers have an attitude toward object, which is where they evaluate the product's actual quality. But they also have an attitude toward behavior, where they evaluate the act of purchasing it. You might have a deep, deep love for this cool new gadget you found online. That's your attitude toward the object. But if you absolutely hate the website's clunky checkout process, or you're worried about delayed delivery, your attitude toward the behavior of buying it is negative. The result? A tragically abandoned shopping cart. To really understand how we get to actual behavior, we rely on the theory of reasoned action, which was developed by Fishbein and Ozin. It shows that your own attitude isn't the only factor at play here. It gets mixed together with what we call subjective norms, which is basically the perceived expectations of your family, your friends, and society at large. Only when your attitude and those social expectations actually align do you form a strong behavioral intention, which then finally leads to actual behavior. Here's another really quick mental model to make this sticky for you. ASNB. Attitude, subjective norms, behavioral intention, behavior. If you remember ASNB, you've pretty much mastered the flow of reasoned action. But wait, what if you have the right attitude, society completely approves, and you totally intend to buy it, but you still don't? Well, that is explained by the theory of trying to consume. Sometimes external roadblocks can kill a sale dead in its tracks. Things like a lack of money, the product simply being out of stock, or life just getting in the way so you literally don't have the time to drive to the store. This is exactly why marketers have to work tirelessly to remove these external barriers, just to allow consumers to actually complete the purchase.
All right, Section 5, Shaping and Changing Attitudes.
This is the final piece of the puzzle here, how marketers actively play a role in building or altering these mental architectures. Look, preferences don't just appear out of thin air. They develop gradually over time. Just look at how they're learned. Your inner circle, your family and friends, heavily influence your early preferences. Then, your own personal trials and experiences cement them in place. Today, obviously, modern forces play a massive role too. Advertising provides emotional associations, and social media reviews, ratings, and influencers are constantly shaping our daily attitudes.
And while we established earlier that attitudes are generally stable, they absolutely can be changed through targeted marketing strategies. We're talking things like providing new information to correct a misconception, leveraging celebrity endorsements to build trust, or just providing excellent, friction-free customer service after a sale. Because at the end of the day, satisfied customers develop much stronger positive attitudes over time. Let's move to and see how this builds. To pull all of this together into a cohesive picture, we can quickly consolidate the pretty heavy psychological theories we've just decoded. We've got the tri-component CAB model covering thinking, feeling, and behaving. The object and behavior models separating the product itself from the act of buying it. The theory of reasoned action bringing in those social pressures. And the theory of trying to consume reminding us that, hey, external barriers can ruin it all. So, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative question to chew on as we wrap up this explainer. Look at the brands sitting in your home right now. Are your brand preferences really yours, or are they just a carefully learned attitude? The next time you buy something, I challenge you to look at your purchase through the lens of CAB and ASNB. You might just be surprised by who or what is really making the decision. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive.